Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Man murdered in Greenfield, Westmoreland. A man was shot and killed by unknown assailants along Solomon Street in Greenfield, Westmoreland on Tuesday night. He has been identified as 35-year-old Adrian Brown, otherwise called Ant-Man, a former of Corder District in Greenfield. The incident happened sometime after 8:20. It is reported that Brown had earlier attended to his cows and then went to visit his father. While walking along Solomon Street, he was pounced upon by unknown assailants who opened fire, hitting him. The police were summoned, and upon arrival, Brown was discovered suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was rushed to the Savannah Hospital, where he died while being treated. Joel Andem's son, free of drug charges. Tamoya Andem, son of incarcerated crime boss Joel Andem, was found not guilty of drug charges in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court. His co-accused, Zidane Douglas, was also found not guilty. The two were charged with possession, dealing and trafficking ganja following an incident last year. The prosecution led evidence that on May 13, 2021, Andem and Douglas were passengers in a motor car that was stopped along Dermore Road, St. Andrew, after the police observed a traffic breach by the driver. The police told the court that on approaching the car, there was a strong odor of ganja coming from the vehicle. As a result, a search was conducted. The search revealed one bag of ganja in the back seat of the car and 6 other bags in the trunk. The total weight of the ganja amounted to more than 100 pounds. Both men denied knowing that the ganja was in the car, and in their defense, claimed that they had just picked up by the driver and another passenger. This other passenger and the driver had pleaded guilty to the ganja before the start of the trial. Parish Judge Venice Blackstock Murray found Andem and Douglas not guilty of breaching the Dangerous Drug Act. The parish judge said she found that the principal officer involved in the case has been discredited after cross-examination by King's Cons Peter Champagny and Javid Grant, who appeared for Andem and Douglas respectively. The judge also noted that the smell of ganja alone was not sufficient in law to find both men guilty. Revelation yesterday that commissioners of Integrity Commission are not required to file statutory declarations surprised Joint Select Committee members. A revelation that the commissioners of Integrity Commission are not required to file statutory declarations surprised members of yesterday's October 18 Joint Select Committee of Parliament. The matter came to light while Executive Director Greg Christie was responding to questions about public officials filing their mandatory statutory declarations. Mr. Christie explained that external legal opinion was sought on the matter.
It had to do with whether or not the commissioners are required to file statutory declarations.
Are the commissioners required?
The Solicitor General said no. And that is, on that one, the chairman directed that the opinion should come from the Solicitor General. There's a concept called conflict of interest. This is something that would impact the commission.
But I would say the first one is also a conflict of interest.
Which one is that?
In the sense that the commissioners chose to take their own legal advice versus an independent, the government's lawyer in the first case.
With respect to Section 36(3,
yeah.
That has nothing personally to do with anybody in the commission. It's just a process that the commission goes through. This now has to do with what are required of the commissioners themselves. It would be highly inappropriate for the commissioners to advise themselves on that. And I think our chairman did the right thing. The staff of the IC, and I can say this, are 100% report, the staff, yes.
So the only...
As a matter of fact, I can go further, member. From I was a contractor general, we had a strict rule. If you did not file, you would lose your job. It's that simple. So we have had a 100% compliance rate. I know that the Integrity Commission has amalgamated 3 commissions. Every member of the as a matter of fact, we can't even recruit you if you have not filed. If you look at any advertisement that the commission puts out, a prerequisite is that if you're being recruited from the public sector or if you spend time in the public sector, you have to show that you have been up to date with your submissions.
The only anomaly then would be the commissioners in this situation.
Yeah. I can't speak for the commissioners, but I can speak for the staff.
COP and JPS contractors accused of sexual assault granted bail. The police constable and 2 Jamaica Public Service Company contractors implicated in the sexual assault of a woman in Manchester were granted $850,000 bail following an appearance before the parish court on Wednesday. Prosecutors strongly opposed the bail applications for Durant Brown a cop stationed in St. Catherine, and Eric Grant and Devonnie Bogle. They expressed concerns that the men or their agents could interfere with witnesses. But defense lawyers countered, arguing, among other things, that the risk of the men absconding bail was low. Attorney at law Alexander Shaw, who represents a policeman, insisted that his client had a constitutional right to bail and he should not be denied merely because he was a cop. The lawyer for the other two men, Chadwick Berry, argued similar grounds. Parish Judge Monique Harrison said the prosecution did not demonstrate that the risks were insurmountable and granted the applications for bail. A travel order has been imposed on them, and they are to return over their travel documents to the attorneys. The men are to return to court on November 16. It's alleged that the three went to a house in Manchester on October 11, where they allegedly discovered illegal powder connections. It's reported that the men solicited sex in return for not reporting the woman. She rejected the offer, prosecutors told the court. However, the woman contended that the men ignored her response and assaulted her. The policeman has been charged with grievous sexual assault and corruptedly soliciting and corporately accepting oral sex. And Grant and Bogle, who are from Kingston, have been charged with rape, along with corruptedly soliciting and corruptedly accepting sex. Attorney at law Christopher Towson also represented both men, but he was not in court. J.C. Hutchinson blasted for a commending award of contract to Sons Company. Director of Investigations of the Integrity Commission, Kevin Stevenson, has blasted Member of Parliament for St. Elizabeth Northwest J.C. Hutchinson for engaging in nepotism for his action and constituted a conflict of interest. The Integrity Commission launched an investigation into allegations of nepotism, impropriety and irregularity in relation to recommendations made to the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation for the award of contracts of Postor Electrical and Construction, and recommendations made from the National Council on Education for the appointment of individuals to school boards by Williams J.C. Hutchinson. Stevenson, in a report tabled in Parliament on Wednesday, described Hutchinson's conduct as appalling, noting that his actions may have damaged public confidence in Jamaica's governance arrangements. In that regard, the Director of Investigations recommended that Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Marissa Dalrymple Filbert, should implement such sanctions, which are both commensurated with the seriousness of his conduct and inspire public confidence in government. Stevenson concluded that Hutchinson directly and/or ostensibly authorized Claudia Baker Archer, coordinator of the Constituency Development CDF, to recommend Postor Electrical and Construction, a private entity owned by his son Jason Hutchinson, for the award of contracts by the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation for the supply of electrical material. The Director of Investigations also concluded that Hutchinson directly or indirectly authorized Claudette Baker Archer, CDF coordinator, to send correspondence on his behalf requesting payment on behalf of Postor Electrical and Construction in relation to electrical material and/or services supplied by the reference entity at the Lacova Community Center. Further, Stevenson concluded that Hutchinson's direct and/or indirect recommendation of Postor Electrical and Construction for the award of contracts by the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation amounted to an actual conflict of interest in light of the fact that the entity is owned by his son, Jason Hutchinson. The Integrity Commission's Chief Investigator of Corruption stated that Hutchinson's actions were improper and irregular given his role as public servant and corresponding responsibility to act with fairness and transparency in discharging his obligations as a Member of Parliament. The works were undertaken in 2018, with payment to be company totaling $713,512.35. PSTEB reports fewer road crashes and fatalities during recently concluded U.S. holiday weekend when compared to previous years. The Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch is reporting that fewer road crashes and fatalities were recorded during the recently concluded U.S. holiday weekend when compared to previous years. In providing an update, Head of PSTEB Assistant Commissioner of Police Gary McKenzie told reporters that 2 road fatalities were recorded at the weekend. The crashes occur in Westmoreland and St. Mary.
We are very happy that we did not have the number of crashes and fatalities that we have seen over previous years. In fact, we have recorded just 2 crashes that resulted in 2 fatalities, which of course is really too much, far too much. One in Westmoreland and one in St. Mary. generally speaking, the traffic was manageable. Of course, our officers were out in their numbers on various thoroughfares, especially those highways and the main thoroughfares that persons tend to traverse, especially during holidays. In fact, the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement branch were actually a part of this planning and execution. And so we had learned from what had happened on the previous occasion, and we actually put, strategies and activities in place to ensure that it did not happen.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell